Hey, what's up guys? Little man with a big opinion here. Today's video, I've got a lot of numbers for you. Uh, I've got dollar amounts, I have poundage amounts, and this entire video is coming after... I need to tell this printer to stop printing. Anyway, this video is coming after I had a discussion with a family friend who is doing two things right when it comes to being a prepper, because they're not preppers. Yes, it's gonna finish what it's doing. The first thing that she's doing right is she's staying vigilant. She's paying attention to the news. The second thing she's doing right is she has the right idea of where to start. So I'm going to share this video with you, Kelly, and you should watch it because the information in here is useful for a first-time prepper, and it's also useful for anyone getting started in prepping. What I will say is I'm not a financial advisor, but I'll explain more of that when I actually get into the video. The last thing I'll say before I start talking about that, I typically save this for the end, but if you like the video, then leave a like, leave a comment telling me what you think about it, what's your opinion. If you ask questions, then it might turn into a video. If you like what I'm doing with the channel, then please hit the subscribe button. We got like 34 subscribers in like a 48-hour period. That was nuts for me. And then lastly, if you have a friend or family member that would benefit from our discussion in these videos, then go ahead and send them a link to this video so that my knowledge and expertise can be shared with them as well. And, just to say that I've got a lot of numbers, here's all the information I did. It's about half an hour's worth of cranking out some numbers and researching things. But what this video is about is some close friends of ours, roughly our age, in their early 20s. One man, husband, one woman, wife, and a 2-year-old or almost 2-year-old daughter. She's a little bit worried about what she's seeing in the news when it comes to inflation, the issues with Russia, and she said, we need to start stocking up on food. And the first thing she said was rice, beans, and ramen. So you're about 80% correct. So the numbers I have here is for the three of them for 1 year, living off of rice, beans, and oats. There are some caveats to this. So the first thing that I'll get out of the way is this is the bare necessities to keep yourself alive from a caloric standpoint. I did do the numbers for if you're working and active versus just hunkering down and using the bare amount of calories. And I'll add some more things in here at the end. But for a average adult female, you need about 2,000 calories per day. And that comes out to 730,000 calories for a year. An average adult male needs about 2,500 calories per day. And that comes out to 912,000 calories. And for a 2-year-old, they're consuming roughly 1,400 kids still are in that age where they are growing. So that's the average. So if they're at the beginning of 2 years, then they're consuming less calories versus nearing the 3-year-old stage. But it comes out to 511,000 calories uh, for a grand total of 2,153,500 calories. And that's just to maintain your current body weight, and that's eating oats for breakfast, so oatmeal, and that's having a lunch and a dinner that is rice and beans. Uh, you add about 25% of the calories to that for a working or an active group of people. So if you are having to get firewood to stay warm and cook meals, if you're having to, collect your water from, a rain catchment system, if you're having to go hunting or fishing to supplement some meat into it to get more protein, if you're still working, uh, then add about 25% more calories for the day. And that comes out to 2,691,875. And these numbers that I have for you is 1/3 rice, 1/3 beans, 1/3 oats. And this is Walmart prices, getting a 20-pound bag of white long grain rice, getting a 20-pound bag of pinto beans, and getting the large, roughly this size container of oats. It's a 2-pound, 10-ounce container. And this is at today's prices. The 20-pound bag of rice is $9.78. The beans are $14.46, and the oats are $3.98. I can remember getting the beans in the $12 range in the past. The rice was $7.99, and I remember the oats being $2.98. So that just shows you, if this is food that you consume every day, our inflation is not slowing down right now. So even getting a little bit of this and just consuming it day to day, you will continue to save money. Then the next numbers I have is one of those 20-pound bags of rice is 32,320 calories. One of those 20-pound bags of beans is 25,900 calories. And the oats, being 2 pounds, 10 ounces, comes out to 4,500 calories. For the 1 year supply, the rice is 22 to 28 packages, coming out to 440 or 560 pounds. The beans is 28 to 34 packages at 560 pounds to 680 pounds. And the oats, pound to calorie, they are the best at 420 pounds to 525 pounds. The price points on all of this: rice is $2.15 to $2.73, beans is $4.05 to $4.92, and the oats is $6.38 to $7.96. So in theory, you could cut the oats out and just do 50-50 on rice and beans and save a little bit of money. But with just these 3 items, you are probably going to dislike eating that food within 2 weeks. So on to our next amount of caveats with this. These 3 items are very cheap, poundage and calorie-wise to your dollar amount. But all 3 of them need water to prepare them. So you also need to be looking at water storage. Uh, we had the discussion the other day. They have a well, so adding some sort of hand pump to it yourself will help limit the amount of water storage that you need. But you should still be looking at having 50 to 100 pounds, or 50 to 100 gallons of stored water all the time. And you need some way to cook this, whether that's having the 5-gallon propane containers that once it's stored will last for 25 years, having firewood readily available, or some other small camping stove type, cooking. So that's one caveat, is water and having the means to cook and prepare this food. For anyone getting into prepping, my recommendation is have a set number of calories stored away, just to make sure you'll be able to survive through it. Whether you think that set number of calories is a month, 6 months, a year, 5 years, that's up to you. But after you hit that set number of calories, then you need to start putting away, MREs, freeze-dried food. Start adding other things to the list that have longer shelf lives. Start getting things that have the 1 to 5 year shelf life that you can start rotating. Start adding other foods that have a 25 plus. That way you have variety in your diet. If you want to save even more money, then don't put it in Mylar bags or mason jars, but at least freeze this food for 3 to 5 days. That way you kill all the bug eggs, and at least put it in a tote of some sort, or even a Ziploc bag. And what that'll do for you is keep the food fresh for a decent amount of time. And you don't have to freeze it if you do a Mylar bag and oxygen absorbers, because the whole point of the oxygen absorber is to remove the oxygen so those tiny bug eggs don't hatch and start eating your food and spoiling it. And the whole point in freezing it for the 3 to 5 days is to kill it. If you have the time, the energy, and the funds, then you do both. And it's like, doubling up your efforts on removing that issue. And then the last thing that doesn't go into this this cost that I have, the grand total, is if this is all you have the time to put away, then spending $10 or $15 a month to start putting away spices. Most of the spices that you put away have a 1 to 5 year shelf life, if not, from a scientific standpoint, nearly limitless. They have found honey and sugar and salt from thousands of years ago that was perfectly edible and safe. So keeping it in a cool, dry place will keep this stuff for nearly ever. The whole reason Mountain House food only has a 25-year stamp on it is because of the FDA, and they have to do testing and meet regulations. So we're down to the grand total, and it comes out to, at the minimum survival level, $1,256, and at the working level, $1,561. That's without water, without means to cook it, without means to store it, and without spices to mix it up a bit. Because you'd be surprised at what, sugar and curry and salt and pepper will do to help you, flavor up some food. So, with that being said, what are your thoughts on this? When I first got into prepping, and I had meaningful money to put away, I filled up 8 5-gallon buckets with rice, 8 with beans, and 4 with oats. Most of that is in big 5-gallon bags, which I would only do 1-gallon or half-gallon bags now for the next time I do a big set like that. And then I have a bunch of different quantities in pint and quart and half-gallon mason jars. And then after I felt comfortable with that caloric amount, then I started putting away more freeze-dried options. I set up the working pantry that's got a 4-week rotation. So at the bare minimum, if something happens the day before I have to go get groceries, I have 3 weeks and 1 day worth of a working pantry. And so you get all that set up. You've got your 3 to 4 weeks of your working pantry of food you eat nearly every week that you really enjoy. And then you rotate between your simple meals of rice and beans and oats, and you supplement that with your canned chicken meals and your MREs and your freeze-dried food, and then you supplement it even further with anything that you're growing yourself. So we've got a lemon and a pear tree. We're planning on completing the orchard this spring. So we still have several years before we start getting something out of that. But we're also setting up a garden in the spring as well. And the family friend is getting chickens. We're paying for about half of it. They're paying for the other half. It's going to stay on their property because they live outside of city limits, and we'll add a decent protein to that. So what are your thoughts? Let me know in the comment section down below. Would you set up your food plan differently? The pros to that is you have the peace of mind of a year's worth of food. You got to suffer through a year, but it also gives you a little bit of time to, reestablish yourself. And it's a good stepping stone for becoming self-reliant, to where when you have that bad year of a low crop yield, you've got your supplies that you can come back on. But the idea of being self-reliant is producing everything you're going to consume on your own property and having a little bit more that you can trade for other items or store away for that rainy day. Remember, ask me questions down below and I'll answer them. The channel's still pretty small, so I answer just about every comment unless it's an unnecessary comment. But with that, like, subscribe, share, comment. I'll catch you in the next one.